following program on Ada Derana 24 is classified as PG. It is intended for younger children in the company of an adult. It may contain some suggestive dialogue, infrequent coarse language, some sexual situations, or some moderate violence. Viewer discretion is advised. The following program contains opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed without any censorship and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
Welcome to another episode of TPS, where we discuss about the most relevant and pressing conversations about the political landscape as well as what the general public has to ask from the people who have the responsibility for the call to action. So we've been discussing about the local government, whereon we were talking about the local government election situations and also the post-local government situation where everyone was deciding as to who the nominees and nominations were. And now we are discussing about the volatile current political landscape, because we are seeing the hustle and bustle, and also from 161 nominations being established, there are also 178 nominations that are not given and are delayed. So with all these situations, and also we see recent establishments of bilateral discussions going on with India and Sri Lanka, and also the National Tax Week. So with all these establishments, we are going to dig deep into the current political landscape, which is quite volatile. So today for this discussion, joining with me are two gentlemen. So welcome Mr. Vinshada Yasasmini Pathiraja from the United National Party, and also I welcome Mr. Damitha Wickremasinghe from Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna. Welcome you both to today's show. And yes, so let me start as I was telling in per the introduction as well. So there has been a situation where after the local government election, with all these situations ongoing, I wanted to ask from y'all. First, let me direct this question to you. What do you think about the current situation? It has been quite volatile. Now, after the local government elections, we've been seeing just as much as it was delayed, now the nominations are getting delayed as well. So it is a situation in terms of political accountability and also the administrative readiness. It doesn't show any preparedness. What do you think about from your personal opinion and also your party stance?
I'll tell my personal, and thank you for having me again, and I'll tell my personal opinion on this one, before anything else. So after the local government election, I think all these, I think government might have thought they have loosened the grip of the people, I would say. So I think after losing that grip of the people, I think they are also little concerned about the appointees that they are going to make, and the best part is they actually have not been in the majority of the seats in the some of the local governments also. So I think with that, all the people are even the government, and I think I have seen set of ministers in the government also going around with these all newly appointed mayors and working towards the seats. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'm not telling that the local governments are not important. I'm not telling that this is not the case that we should work on. But in the meantime, I think we should put our priority on the economy as well. Yeah. So we have been directed by the local government elections, and the government is also catering the subject of this local government election for their favor. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I think it's a crucial situation. Is after all these elections, I think they are only establishing the power, but they are not working on the economic side. Yeah. I think that's going to run into another downfall of the country's economy, because we are always more focused on the political stability, not about the economic stability. So I do understand that the government has a responsibility of stabilizing the a good hand of power. Mm-hmm. But again, is that the main reason right now? Is that the main concern right now we have? Because our country is we are barely recovering from a crisis. Yeah. And yes, I agree that again the local government should be placed, but again paying that much of attention to a matter that does not does not cover the whole picture, I think it's unwanted, I would say, because now after all this election, I think they should act on the economy, not on the not on these petty politics. I think they should stop doing that and focus on the government's economy, because we don't see anything promising coming in. So that's gonna that's gonna cost us a lot, because if that economy is not kicked back to where it was back in 2018, I would say, that's not gonna save a lot. So in my personal opinion, yes, I would tell you all to I would tell all this the half puff and everything, they should resolve it within, but that's not the major question right now. I think even though people try to make it the major question in the the current landscape, I think more than that, the economy would be the priority. Economy should be the priority, because it's not only my opinion. That was our party's opinion since back then, because UNP was the one who always vouched for the economic prosperity. So I think now it's time to get back into the economic war, because it's a war. We are running an economic war right now. So if we are not addressing that particular sector, I think we're gonna face another downfall in maybe 1 or 2 years. I don't know, but that should be addressed. So without having said that the local governments are not the priority, it is a priority, but more than that, the economy would be the priority right now. That would be my the POV on this current landscape on the Sri Lankan politics.
All right. So you feel like it should go hand in hand.
Yes. Just
as much as they give focus on the local government internal political aspect, they need to work around with the economic situation as well.
Yes.
All right. So with that being said, I wanted to know, is this the same opinion that you hold, like the leadership should give more priority to other aspects as well, which really matter to the country, just as much as they give the priority to the local government elections?
Well, yes, but if you analyze the current context, this particular government or the president, I don't know what they are prioritizing. See, look at cost of living. Look at how the security situation has deteriorated. This 5 months of this year, we had over 50 shooting incidents, if I remember right. Some 40-odd people killed on the roads, right? This has become another Colombia, which was like in the 80s. Now Colombia is safe, but Sri Lanka has, turned to the worst. Also, if you analyze properly the outcome of the local government elections, the government has clearly lost its mandate. Right? No other government post-independence Sri Lanka has gone down from the vote share has gone down this much, right? So within 6 months they have lost 2.3 million votes and almost close to 18% of the vote share. So that itself is a reflection of the inefficiency and inability of this government. And of course, actually it would have been very appropriate if somebody from the government also participated in this program, because they must be kept accountable, right? What did they say during the presidential and parliamentary election? They said the former petroleum minister was reaping 150 rupees commission from a liter. So why has that 150 gone down? We must ask, the public must ask why. If that was a lie, of course, it has been exposed. If not, somebody from this government is taking that 150 rupees, right? They reduced only 20 rupees if my memory serves right. So actually, as a party, we are very confident and we are very happy on the outcome, because due to those malicious lies spread by the NPP, it was the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna which was affected the most, right? We from 6.9 million we went down to 350,000 just for the simple fact that they kept on repeating the mantra Rajapaksa Varu. And now everything is coming to the public light, and whatever legal actions they have taken. Now, if you take Mahindananda Alutgamage and Nalin Fernando's judgment, it clearly says that they have not profited privately, right? It is a procedural error and misappropriation of public funds, not that they made money out of it, right? So now we have to ask the government, where are the mega huru that they were talking about? Where are the billions of dollars which were taken to Uganda apparently? And that particular MP now says that she lied about it consciously, knowing that it was a lie. And these people must be held accountable. And coming on to the party stance, we are very happy. We had a 300% growth, and our national leader, who is in fact the de facto leader who's running the day-to-day operations, Mr. Namal Rajapaksa, is being received very well in the country. And I think time to come when the government, they'll be cut to size when all these lies get exposed. And we are very confident in future elections that we can have a strong showing.
Right. So with that being said, I need to ask a follow-up question as well. Now, you spoke about the fact now the current NPP, the government, came into power telling that they'll get rid of corruption and all. And with your statement as well, you mentioned how they are not looking into that aspect and how there has been corruptions going on in day-to-day life, and even the general public has been facing situations in terms of life-death threat as well. So in that kind of a context, do you feel like they are not in the right path, or do you feel like they are alienating in this process?
Obviously, they are not in the right path due to the simple fact that the allocation for capital expenditure in the budget, now we have almost past 6 months for the financial year, the performance is 10%. When the government stops, buying and procuring and spending on infrastructure and whatnot, that affects on the economic outcome of the country. I doubt whether we can achieve 2% this year as growth. So day by day, gradually they are taking the country down the gutters, right? So people must realize this. So and when it comes to corruption, now see, there is this 300 odd containers which were released, which were red flagged, right? And now the customs is trying to explain with all these, fancy stories. But the fact of the matter is 300 odd containers which were red flagged were, released from the customs without any proper, due process. So these are, if this is not corruption, what is corruption then? Right? So, I mean, I don't know, this government inaction is unbelievably at a higher rate, because they are unable to manage. Now everywhere there's problems. Look at the immigration office. Immigration system is daily dysfunctioning at the airport. We get reports of tourists sitting on the floors until the system is rectified. So because nobody is taking authority, for the simple reason, when you say that where I was chairman, right? Not during my tenure, but there was an issue, and now the Auditor General's office is saying that the public officials should pay it back, some hundreds of millions of rupees. So when you say that, right, when this kind of rhetoric goes out, do you think public officials will take the risk? They just work for a peanut sum of salary, and to take a risk, I mean, things will come to a stall. Right? So this government has to understand, when you say something, right, you can say this guy is a hora and that guy is a hora, but ultimately it affects the whole economic cycle. And if you try to weaponize anti-corruption, laws and everything against the opposition, then all of us must rise against that. Because clearly MP Chamara Sampath, he was put behind bars, he was remanded. What was the allegation? 1 million rupees worth of donation of school bags. Do you think that is the biggest corruption issue in the country? It might be wrong, procedural errors might be there, it's a matter pending at court. But once again, we must ask the government, where is the stealing of billions of dollars that you all were talking about?
All right, thank you so much. So in that context, it seems like there are so many white lies going on as well. And in that context, we need to discuss a little bit more about that as well. Now, you mentioned about now the economic situation that the political parties need to focus on, especially NPP as well. And he mentioned about the corruption and how it has been a tagline for them to come into power, but then again still corruption is been happening. Now with all that, I want to ask from you now, UNP has been in power and had like a greater privilege of performing the higher authority for the people. What do you think is different from the United National Party's period of leadership and this period of leadership? If you all were now in this position, what do you think you would do differently?
That's a pretty hard question to say, but again, like we be not like UMP was not been in the full power for the for the past years. I don't think I can't agree to that.
Okay.
So if we have been in the power, but before I go into that, let's point out a little fact about the corruption and the the business.
Yeah.
Now we all know this this Adani's investment. It was like a hot topic back in the day. You know what? Like very recently, I think I have this. I'll share it with you. There's a 6 wind power stations that this is in English, like I have to translate and tell you it.
Yeah.
So it was 10 megawatts power plants, 6 power plants being bidded for the price of 29.80 rupees. So the 29.80 means it's about somewhere close to $0.09.
Okay.
So the Adani's price was at like Adani's price was at 0.0826. Back then, back when the Adanis are bidding at 0.0826, there were 3 companies who bidded. Those are all the Sri Lankan companies. I can't recall the names right now, but those people have bidded at 0.048.
Okay.
This is back in when the Adani was bidding for the same thing, but it was about 484 megawatts, and now these people are bidding for like 10 megawatts and the 6 plants. So the corruption is, what I would tell you is, these people have voted for a less amount when the Adani was in the scene, and once the Adani left the scene, now these people are like going into this thing with the 29.80.
Okay.
Isn't that the corruption? Like they have kicked out Adani, and now they are bidding for higher prices than the Adanis also. And then the best part is, there's a committee from the electricity board have decided 23 is the price. Then why would you kick out Adani? That's a 1.25 billion worth of FDI. And you have kicked that off like, nothing as it. And I don't know why it comes to this level, like the Lakmali Hemachan, the minister, she's a minister, like if I'm not mistaken. So she's been telling that there's no risk of losing this economy. But again, yes, now we have lost 484 megawatts, right? 1.25 B in USD. What we have gained? 60. We have gained only 60 megawatts, not even a half, not even a quarter. So that's the loss that we made with the Adani Steel. I don't know what the government, like I have seen the president is saying that, no, this is not even to 1 billion. So he was telling it's only for 750 million. But no, there's a 500,000 infrastructure coming to the play with all this Adani's project.
Yeah.
So that's what we have kicked out. So if we being in the position, I think we have not the approval for the wind power for Adani, I would say.
Yeah.
So that means that's a 1.5 billion worth of FDI coming to the play in the like the local turf. So why are we kicking those off and letting in these like small buggers to like in terms of economy, like we are talking about the talking about an economy that comes from
I really need to cut you short because we need to run to a short commercial break. We'll proceed from there on as well. So this is TPS. Let's continue with the next part of the program where we discuss about the internal matters and the internal volatile current political landscape of Sri Lanka. So let's take a short commercial break. Welcome back to TPS, where we were discussing about the situation with the current political landscape, where they were discussing about how the post-local government situation looked like and how the NPP government has diverted focus in terms of the promises that they made. So I actually cut short Mr. Vinshada with his response. So Yes, about the whole situation that you were describing.
So the whole situation was about the Adani's project, as I just informed, like it is been the process has been already corrupted, because there's a set of local suppliers who's bidding after they kicked out the Adani, they are bidding for a higher price. So that's one example for you. And the next thing is in this economy, your question was what we would have done differently. So right, so what I see in here, this government is they are glorifying the same set of people who were back in the Goda's administration, I would say. So those are the people who actually made this country into the worst. And I think what I see is all this set of people who've been with the previous government also been eating these president's heads also, because we do see all these mistakes, the economic mistake, I would call it, economically those are mistakes. We shouldn't do that. The one thing is the Aswasuma, we are expanding it, right? It's not good for the economy. And the one thing is we are depending on the vehicle tax that are being that's actually leakage to the country, because if you are spending your limited foreign reserves on bringing in vehicles, so that's not going to generate foreign currency in the future, right? So you are dumping all your foreign currency into a grave and you are expecting that amount will recover in your future. No, that's not going to recover, because once you brought a vehicle here, you're going to inject fuel, right? It's going to be a recurring leakage to the foreign reserve. So that's not going to solve your problem. Even though you hit the target with that 1.5 billion allocation of funds to gain the tax in return, yes, you can get the tax return, like the expected tax return. But again, in the longer run, in an economic aspect, you are spending your money to a blank ground, because it's not going to generate any of these any amount of foreign currency in future for you to sustain this economy. So that's a very gullible move in terms of economy. I don't know who gave that idea to that idea to this president, but I would say we have to cut short on all these imports, because I know that people can afford vehicles, but Sri Lanka as a country can't afford vehicles. Okay. So we have to understand that situation. That's what we would have done differently. We are not telling that we would put all the barriers, but there should be a limit. We can't be going on harangues to this is not a la-di-da situation for the country, right? We are just recovering from the economic crisis that we have faced. We all see the graphs and we all see the numbers and everything. But we to get to back to the point where we were at 2018. It's I would say we have lost 1 trillion of rupees in our economy. We have shrunk down to the I think it's 12.5 or it was 12.5 back in 2018, and we have shrunk down the economy to 11.2 something. Okay. So there's a 1.3 million gap that we have to fill to be back where it was. So I don't see any promising economic plans that have been implemented even in the country. I don't see any of the ministers are working towards that. Okay. So that's an alarming situation. That's what we would work for. Even this connection between the India and Sri Lanka, that's a vast opening, opening for a market for us. I know there are barriers, there are laws that need to be implemented, that I really agree, but we should work on that. We shouldn't be pushing those away, because if we connect it to the India, that means it's a 1 billion customer base for us, and we are connecting our goods to the land, through the land. So that's gonna reduce our cost of imports, the exports and everything. So if we are not going on that particular era, the path, I don't know what we are doing, because bringing out all these local businesses can be sustained in the local market, but in terms of the country's aspect, our main focus should be on the foreign reserve, because we have to repay loans. We have to start paying back. So if our economy is not ready to pay back those loans, and if our economy is not making enough foreign currencies to repay back those loans, we are going to be in a huge trouble. So I think that's what the government should be put the focus on.
All right, so I was actually asking about how the UNP would do differently as to what NPP is doing currently. So there was a lot of talk about it through Mr. Vinshada as well. So now I want to direct to you this question about, now there was this National Tax Week. That was something new and that was given through the NPP government as well. And our President Andrew Kumar Dissanayake mentioned about the shallow system of corruption, how he's going to dismantle it. Now, in your stance, or else more like your party stance, do you think this was necessary? Was this something that could have been of a active mechanism?
Well, before we analyze whether this is necessary or not, what did candidate Andrew Kumar Dissanayake said during the presidential election? He asked whether there is a need for a government if you just increase taxes and run the country, right? Now he is celebrating a tax week. So what is the double standard? And the other thing is, now during the campaign he said this Treasury Secretary Mahinda Siriwardana and Central Bank Governor Nandanal Weerasinghe should be put behind bars for the atrocities they did to the economy. Now in the tax week speech he is praising Mahinda Siriwardana, saying that because of Mahinda Siriwardana only this economy survived this far. So I mean, these double standards, I mean, people, you should question that. I mean, I must tell the viewers, you must, I mean, as sensible and educated people of the country, you must question these, right? You actually, during, just for the sake of winning elections, it is very clear and evident that they have fooled the masses, right? Coming on to a tax week, whether that is necessary to increase the tax revenue, yes, we also believe we have to expand the tax base and bring the rates down, right? 36% highest tax rate is absolutely non-justifiable when you compare rest of the region and rest of the world, right? So now, especially income tax, now places like Dubai, they have zero income tax, right? That is the markets that we have to compete with if you want to attract foreign investment and foreign companies to come and invest. So for that to broaden the tax net, you have to get the digital ID in place. Now during Namal Rajapaksa's time, when I was the chairman of the National Youth Services Council, in fact I was also in that committee. India granted us the Aadhaar system, a similar system for Sri Lankan national ID, and it was about to be, the tender was about to be floated, right? And it's almost 5 years since Namal Rajapaksa left the ministry, it is still stuck there, right? Without moving. I mean, without getting the national digital ID in place, broadening the tax net is a wishful thinking, right? So this particular, it came as a grant. This government has been so inefficient, they are even unable to float the tender and get this, rolling out, right? So this is the kind of inefficiency we are talking about, and I must comment on my good friend from UNP. He said that, it's the same people that were in the Gotabaya Rajapaksa administration, which are, now the, driving force behind the NPP. Of course, yes, because Gotabaya Rajapaksa's government was clearly put down by a conspiracy. So it's the same people, of course, they are the ones who engineered it. So they must be serving in the NPP for sure. Now, even Aragala, if you remember, right? The country's opposition leader, whether the attack on the Aragale ground was, justifiable or not, I don't want to get into that. Whoever, I mean, it was also part of the conspiracy, but that is not the point, right? When the opposition leader went, right, he almost got killed, right? And the people who are throwing, all these, brooms and sticks and all that to the opposition leader, now which party are they representing? They are seen in the parliament chamber, right? So this was a whole plan based on a conspiracy. This was not a plan based on running a country. That's why they are, unable to manage day-to-day affairs, right? By 2028, we have to start repaying our, bilateral loans as well as the private market loans, right? And this year we have 2.7 billion outflows. Next year we have 2.5 billion outflows. What are their plans? What are their plans to expand the economy? I don't see any visible, projects or anything happening. So, unfortunately, I must say that the people of the country, I think this voting NPP into power, that will be a mistake that we will regret for generations. Mark my word. I mean, my estimation is they won't be able to run day-to-day affairs by 2027. They will have to dissolve and run, right? The way things are going. I don't think people will be sympathetic. Now they have, 2.3 million have gone away from them. If they hold provincial council elections next year, they will lose certainly another 2 to 3 million votes. They might even end up at 3% because, it's a joke. The president of the country, the presidential pardon was abused, no? President of the country is going to the CID against presidential pardons, right? Have we heard this kind of jokes like this happening in the country before, right? So that sums up the state of affairs and how they are able to, run this inefficient government. So I think it is the job of the opposition to take them to account, right? Now, what happens when you talk against the government? Next week you are called up from the bribery commission, right? And various allegations. Even procedure errors are wrong. I'm not saying that they are not wrong, but where are the billions that they accused of other politicians stealing, right? So what is happening to those allegations? Are they being, prosecuted? Have they been taken to courts? We don't see any of that happening, right? Now politicians, I saw one former lady minister taken to bribery commission and been indicted for appointing somebody to her personal staff. I mean, every minister, even the NPP ministers are appointing their own, that's the whole purpose of a minister having a personal staff is to appoint your loyal people to work with you closely, right? And we must also tell the public officials, if you are getting involved in any part of this weaponization of, against the opposition, using the law of the land, to weaponize against the opposition, we will hold you accountable. When we form in a future government, if you are weaponizing, if you are taking the legal apparatus for the sake of getting the opposition to be harassed, we will hold you accountable. Yeah.
All right. So there was a lot of thinking through with response in terms of this situation of the NPP government, and also the question was posed about what this national tax week was and was it necessary, and how all these pinpoint situations were brought about as to question if the majority of the people have done justice in terms of electing the NPP government with all these strong poses and examples that these gentlemen were posing during the program. So to dig deep into what the way forward looks like from these two political parties as well as from the government aspect, let's discuss through this in the next segment. Before that, let's take a short commercial break. This is TPS. Welcome back to TPS, where we were discussing about the volatile current political landscape of Sri Lanka and how it has been with the power of NPP and also the post-local government situation where it has been quite the hustle and bustle and also so much of delays and concerns of the general public. So as we move on to the final segment, I want to discuss with these two gentlemen about the way forward. Now, we have been seeing 161 councils being established and also a majority of 178 councils that has not been established, and also we have been concerns with 323 containers being put out without the proper frameworks of the customs, and also we also see bilateral discussions going on with Sri Lanka and India in terms of defense. And with that we also see in all this hustle and bustle, both your parties are trying your best to work around with the positions and also with the nominees and the people who are going to work for the common general public. So I want to ask from you now, in terms of the United National Party, I believe our former President Ranil Wickremasinghe is working around with forming a strong opposition. I have reportedly mentioned that strategically he is getting involved in this matter so that you all have a strong opposition to fight back with the current government. So how is this working around, and what do you think is the positive notion for the way forward?
Yeah, in terms of forming all these like local government and local government the committees and everything, I think that should be handed over to our leadership and everything. So what I believe is our leader is like forming up to rebrand our party and like give the public to give a new way of UNP to the public, and we are very optimistic about it, because whatever said and done with all these difficulties in the country, it was Ranil Wickremasinghe who kicked back all these economies. Like all these downfalls have been restored by Ranil Wickremasinghe. You can argue about it for hours and hours, and we can agree to disagreement and everything. But it was Ranil Wickremasinghe who put the country back to the track. So we have to accept that. So on based on that confidence, we are forming this a new way of politics, because we all want to see the new faces are coming in, just not new faces, but the ability to run a country. People should have the ability to do this politics, because otherwise what we can see is I'll take a good example out from the government parliament, right? Out of 159, how many people can you name? You can't, right? You can't. I don't think a good number. You can't, right? So, what happened when when that particular election happens? You will get every Tom and every Harry into the parliament. So that's not the way we should do the politics, right? We want to form a proper professional alliance of the from the United National Party for the public, to make sure this country is in a good, safer hand, because that's what we are. That's the way of our forward. And in terms of economics, we do have a lot of implementation that's come from our party itself. We are the one who introduced the open economy, even the internet. And you all talk about entrepreneurship, you won't have it without the internet. And even the NPP can talk about many things, but they are utilizing the establishment of our leaders. So they can actually disgrace it by using the worst word of 76 years curse. But that's what made them actually without this university, without these schools which was made by these previous political figures and the previous administration, they won't even have a school or a university to go, right? So you all can actually complain about the processes and the not being to the upgrade, not upgraded to the level of standards, but again the establishments are there. So I think with that confidence, because our leader was the one who actually being a part of this many of implementations. So with all that confidence, we are we are forming up the UNP for a better future, and we are gonna get set of professional politicians, not just people who that just pick from here and there. It will be a set of professional politicians who's coming out from UNP in the coming elections also. So in terms of economy, I would say we would be working towards exploring new markets. That's what our even our mandate has, like the Theravada Buddhism. That's a huge lot of market. If like, you know, we might have to have like 30 or 40 minutes to explain how good it is. Like, so apart from that, we being in the opposition, we being representing opposition, I think we also should do whatever can to like, you know, whatever can in our limits for the best of the country. And we are doing that, and we are always more focused on putting government on the best track, because we don't see they are on the track. So they are always like, you know, diverting by all these petty political agendas. Like, you know, they always address to the gallery, like my friend said, where are the millions of dollars? Get them back. If you all said it, you all should have it, right? So you all can't be lying around and running a government. So you all should have your, like, because this is the era of, like, you know, we call it, this is the era of illusions, right? We can make an illusion. That's not a big thing, all right? We can lie about it. We can lie into the face, but can you sustain? No, you can't. That's why. So that's why we are telling, like, you know, all your lies, all your stories, all your like propaganda, everything, it all comes to an end right now. So now you all have to show your records. Now you all have to prove your policies, your propositions and the policies and your all these agendas, the manifestos. You all have to put into the practice, put into the practice and prove us wrong. I don't think it's possible, because we don't see it's happening. And we only see them few big-headed people from the government like screaming around the media network. That's all we see. The best example is Lakshman Hermatandra, and there are a few other people. I really don't know their names, as I just said. So the bragging about your incapable government is not the way to get the public preference, right? Because you can't brag about something that you can't deliver. So that's what they are doing. I think they should stop doing that and work on the economics. Like, you know, if the government gonna fall into another economic crisis, I don't see a comeback from there. So I think that should be the strategy for them to play, because otherwise, I think it would be worse than Gotabaya leaving, I would say, because it's not gonna, people won't tolerate this time, because this time, if we are going back to another set of like, you know, economic crisis, our dollar is at when? Where? 200, 300.
Close to 300.
So it was about, it was at 180, 200, right? So 100 rupees gap. So do you think we can afford like $400 rupees for a dollar? I don't think so. So don't go into that path. That's what, like, you know, we being optimistic as an opposition party, like a UMPS, like we are optimistic about our leaders, like the position of the government's, like, you know, the current situation, and our leaders' position on the party's well-being also. So we will come back as strong. Like, you know, we lost a couple, but again, there's a slightly growth on the local government elections also. So we are like, you know, being optimistic for the best of the country, and again for the best of the party. And we should see some of, like, you know, let's look for the next 2 years in the time, and let's work on it. Like, that's what we do. But on a closing note, I would tell the government to focus on the real question, real matter, not the matter that is forecasted by the, like, you know, other people. Because if it is not being happening, you will be in a like, an economic crisis, and it will be worse than Godas leaving. Mark my words, that's gonna happen.
All right. So thank you so much. It was a very futuristic reply as well in terms of what has happened. So I wanted to ask from you as well, as he mentioned now in a final note, that the MPP government was put into play by the people thinking that there'll be a change. So in your context, in the party that you're representing, SLPP, what do you think your party will do differently to gain that trust and confidence of the people and get into a different notion of activity?
Yeah, first of all, I think the people made a change for the worst. That's my, you know, analysis. And secondly, what the most important thing that our party will do is we will not lie, right? And we are very confident, because now if you analyze the previous 3 general elections, this country has been, the voting pattern is towards the center left. right? Even in 2019, 2015 even. And in 24, majority of the vote share was either on the center or the center left. So we are quite confident that with our new team and with our new leadership, that we will be able to attract many of these voters back to the SLPP.
Yeah.
And one thing is, even when our national organizer, Mr. Namal Rajapaksa, goes public, he also keeps on saying that we must always tell the truth about the status of affairs to the people. We should not lie, right? People were expecting people were expecting for cost of living to go down just due to the fact that they were saying that politicians are robbing of the coffers of the government, and if that money is saved, you can have rice at this price, vegetables at this price, and whatnot, right? Cheap gas, cheap fuel and everything. But now people have realized, they have fallen into a nice malicious lies of a Cinderella story, right? State of affairs are not that rosy as the NPP suggested. And also it is very evident this government will not come back from this mess. So it's a matter of time when they will, as I told you before, cut into size on their particular ability. And we are of course ready. Our leadership has told if they can't run the government, to hand it over to us. And you must always remember, I represent the party of the leader who took the country's economy fourfolds, right? From $25 billion to close to $100 billion during President Mahinda Rajapaksa's time. This country's economy grew, and we have brought in prosperity, and we have the experience. The debacle of the 2019 government is due to a conspiracy which came from inside and outside, and also the inability of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. We must admit that. We have he personally himself also has said due to his inexperience in politics that things went wrong.
Yeah.
But on the comeback, of course, Mr. Namal Rajapaksa is assembling a team of experienced politicians who have had the experience of running a country, and also given the opportunity to new people like us to come up in the party. And we are very confident come the next general election. My prediction is it will happen in 2027.
Okay.
And we are quite confident that we can win that election and win the presidential election and put this country back on track. Because if you observe all the leaders, it's only Namal Rajapaksa who talks about the new economic structures like cryptocurrency and forex trading, this digitalization, everything. I don't see any other politician even touching upon those areas. Those are the areas that we can work on to have rapid economic development. So we are very confident.
All right, thank you so much for that very promising response as well. We see that both parties are working in the back front as well, that they wanted to make sure there's a change and a positive aspect in terms of everything that's going on in the current political landscape. We were discussing a lot about how the current situation is looking alike and how these two representatives from their respective parties look through the situation of the government and everything about the post-local government situation and everything that has been going through in terms of corruption, in terms of scenarios, and in terms of new implementations. So while thanking Mr. Vinshada Yasasmini Pathiraja from the United National Party and also Mr. Damitha Wickremasinghe from the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna for joining us for today's discussion, we are looking forward to discuss about more political situations that the common general public has to ask from the people and from the respective leaders who have the power to work around in terms of policies and the leadership. So without forgetting to mention, you can send us through the feedback to our email, which is feedback.ad24english@derana.lk, or via WhatsApp at 076805793, because your feedback matters for this program as well as all the programs in our channel. So looking forward to seeing you with another episode of TPS, where we discuss about the most pressing conversations and questions that you have to ask from people like this who come into the power for your representation. So seeing you with another episode. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and have a blessed Poson Poya holiday.
I had a choice. I let you push me past the breaking point. I stood for nothing.